if you have a good understanding of some common issues that you have in your swing, more specifically on the mechanic side, then you can kind of monitor that in the beginning. But don't overthink it, just warm up. We want to be hitting short chip shot. You'll see a lot of people, they'll say, hit a short shot and then build up from there. You can do that. What I prefer to do is just make it more like an on-course situation from the start. Kind of work from the tee, or the green backwards. Reason being, we obviously don't want to, believe it or not, I see people walk up to the range and they pull driver right away. And that might not seem like an issue, but the reason that can hurt a lot of people is they haven't worked through the bag and given themselves what I would say permission to hit a club like that. The driver can be a very easy club to hit, but it's a slightly different setup, slightly different swing adjustments. And if we have some common flaws that we're unable to hit a simple 30-40 yard pitch shot, that issue is really going to be magnified with our longer clubs. So that's why I want to start with something like this. So the main issue I see is just hitting balls and balls and balls, spending hours on the range, and kind of deeming that as what makes it a productive range session. And then obviously it usually doesn't correlate to your scores, or at least permanently, because for me, I'd work really hard, improve a little bit, and then it would go right back because it just wasn't sustainable and I was jumping around. So I'll just jump right into it. Obviously, like I said, the common misconception is more balls does not equal more results. All right, so I want to make this really, really productive. I haven't even hit a shot. You see me take multiple swings, getting that rhythm, that feel that I want to. This pin's at 50 yards, and if you can see, there's a little bottom there, and that's 38 38 yards. So I have just about 30 feet there, not quite, and I've done this purposely because I want to give myself a bit of an objective to get over that. So I have a forced carry, and I'm already making this a on-course situation from the start. I'm just going to warm up here. All right. What I'm doing now, I'm not just shuffling around for no reason. I'm feeling where my feet want to be, nice and relaxed. Make sure I'm nice and loose. My connection to the club feels correct. Everything's nice and square. If you'd like to, you can take some rehearsals, especially in this stage, that's good. Nice and easy, like I've said before, tempo stays nice and easy. We just control the distance of our swing. All right. So hit the first shot to this flag here. Just carried, landed quite soft actually. It's probably 12, 15 feet short and a little right. So wouldn't be too happy with that, but I have a birdie putt. So that's kind of the way I want you to think about this. There's certain things that you do want to and can nitpick, but don't beat yourself up when you might be very close to tour average in certain metrics. So I'm gonna hit another one here and add a little bit. The flight on that one is a little lower than I would like for this shot. So I'm gonna put it in front of my stance just a little more in the middle. I'm just gonna have a higher finish, nice and easy. All right. Just over it, about 10 feet long. So one thing to address here on this particular lie is I'm hitting into the grain. So I do not want the club to grab, and I need to make sure I hit the ball first cleanly. All right, so I'm gonna go into this one again. Kind of got the feel for distance, and I've got my goal of just getting that ball clean, divot after. All right, and then we'll try one more. There we go. All right, so that's a start. And then what we'll do is we'll work into longer clubs. So I'll put the stakes down, and that's where we can work up to the bag. So I have a few clubs here. I have the 55 that I warmed up with. And then I have a pitching wedge, 7-iron, and 4-iron. And notice I only have 4 clubs, and one of them I've already hit. The reason I say that is I want to add in a few common issues I see with a lot of players that I work with is they think that they have to hit all 13 clubs, and sometimes they may even have, or sorry, 14. You can have 14, that's the max, right? And some people have even more than that, which unless they're playing in events, that's okay. But typically the rule is 14, and honestly, most people will tell you that you really could play a full round of golf with even half that. So I have these here. I want to set this up just how I would hit a normal range session. Like I said, I'll see people start with driver. You saw how I started with my 55, warmed up a little there. One little tip here, the way I set this up, I like to stand somewhere on the range and have a target far out where I can set everything up and keep the target the same. The target direction and the club and the distance just changes. I know that, based on center of contact, how well I hit the ball, everything like that, that's gonna determine how far it goes. Here, I'm really making sure that setup, everything pre-swing is as good as I can have it. And then in swing, this can tell me exactly what I did wrong right away. Gives me direct feedback. So I've already hit my 55. I will grab the pitching wedge here. Another thing I would suggest is, I work with quite a few people who, like I said, think they need to hit all the clubs in their bag. Not only is that an issue, it can waste a lot of time and energy, but it also avoids the chance of addressing some of the clubs that you have the most issues with, or the clubs that you have into par 3s, par 4s, par 5s the most. For me, I use my 55, I use my pitching wedge, those are clubs I use a lot, into par 4s. So that's what I like to warm up with. I like to address those clubs. A mid iron I might use quite a bit as a 7 iron. That's typically what people will grab. That's kind of the range beater. I try to stay away from that and just hit it a few times just to have a feel for that club. And then what I'll do is I'll work up to a 4 iron. And if you notice, I don't have any woods. Here at home, I have enough room for about a 300-yard shot. So if I wanted to, I could work up to about a hybrid. But right now it's not necessary. I'm just working in a few swing feels. I'd like to start at the bottom before we work up anyways. So I have a pitching wedge here. Might be hard to see on camera, but I have an irrigation pipe sticking out of the ground that is kind of my direct target line, and that will be visible for all of my clubs. So I'll step back just like I would on the golf course, and I'll walk in. I have my stake here for target line, stake here for ball position, and of course you can always get the nice custom alignment sticks, or you can get these for $4 or something like that at Lowe's or wherever. So if you like to have a lot of alignment sticks and use them quite a bit, it's a good way to go about it. Let's see, so I'll go ahead and hit this one here. Looking off at my target into the distance, as well as addressing that closer target. Make sure it lines up, and I'll just hit a smooth one, right? This is the pitching wedge. So that started online, stayed online, so checks the boxes, right? That was a little close to the hill in terms of contact. So I believe I got a little too close in terms of setup, which again, I want to address the fact that everyone has tendencies. Mine are always to get closer, aim more right, which in effect, it moves the ball position forward. Just the same as if you opened your body up, it would move it back. So little things like that make a huge difference. So we want to neutralize our swing path and our club face, and it'll be much easier to hit whatever shot you'd like to. So we're going to try to start with a pretty simple neutral stock shot here. I'll hit another one. Notice I'm only on my second ball here after warming up a little with the wedge. So I'm going to stand away a little bit here. Nice and smooth. All right. So that started online, but because I closed the face over a little bit too much, and the wind, my air was compounded a bit. So this is our chance to address this on the range, right? We don't want to be doing this out on the course. This is why we can do this in 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. If you have an hour, great. Even if it's an hour a week. So I'm going to go again. As I showed in the last video, my tendency is to be a little closed here. All right. I'm going to come down. It just shuts the face a little more than I'd like. So I want to get that soft pull cut coming back. Just the setup a little bit, nice and comfortable. Better. All right. So another thing to address, this is perfect practice. I have wind coming off of the right here. So if you play a draw, that's going to increase that. And if you play a cut, more than likely it's going to equal out to about a straight shot. So that's what's happened on the first three for me. A couple went a little too far left, but overall they were mostly on line. So I'm going to hit one more here, and I like to finish with a good swing with a club before I work up. Make sure I have that feel I want, club's where I want it. All right. Make the adjustments I think I need to make. All right. There we go. Really nice. So that's a stock shot, right? I want to start with something smooth. If we're in the wind like we are here, and let's say I have 146 yards, I'm going to know that that wind's going to make the ball go down a little sooner, and it might kill it even faster if I'm hitting a cut into that wind instead of riding with it. Important note is, let's say you've been struggling with the hook or the ball's turning over a little more than you'd like. Kind of like I've been doing, right? So the wind's blowing out of the right, and what's going to happen is I'm going to hit a good shot, but the wind is going to make it look like my tendency and issue is there a little more than it actually is. Therefore, I'm actually going to beat myself up a little more than I would need to, and it's making you think that you're farther away from your right swing. That's another issue I see, is people dictate their level of play and their ability based off of just the contact and what they see. Just simple terms, performance, which makes sense. The reason that is unfortunately just a really big anchor to keep you from playing better golf is because, let's say you're an athlete, you're coming from a different sport. I work with a lot of people who come from baseball. When you see that big banana slice, you feel like, you know, end quote, a bad golfer. You want to get rid of the slice, you feel like you can't score. But if you realize you just make a couple adjustments to be able to translate those skills right to golf, and then you already have that athletic ability, the good hand-eye coordination, and the ability to hit a ball that's not even moving, then that really eases their mind and then give them clear understanding of what to do. All right, so I'm gonna go hit one here. I worked up to my 4-iron. Sometimes I will hit this off of long par 3s or off of a short par 4. So this is a really good club to address. I'm gonna start with a normal stock shot, and I'll probably hit a couple low ones and then maybe even try to work it a bit. Kind of make a rule for a lot of the people that I work with that struggle with beating balls and not really noticing the damage that it's doing. I'll make them rehearse whatever they're working on 3 times for each ball that they hit. Because for me, this is what worked the most. You have to trick your brain into making that new motion and then just trusting that it's right, getting direct feedback from drills like this, and then allowing yourself to work it in. And then once you see that it's good, you'll get the results. You want to keep working it in And then you go from there and you just repeat the process, right? Scotty Scheffler, you might have seen in his recent interview, he worked his entire life just to win his hometown event. It's not like it was an overnight success. So, not saying you have to be #1 in the world, but if you want to play the best to your ability, it's definitely possible. So we'll go ahead and hit another one here. High cut feel. Like I'm cutting across it. Don't want to turn that face over. Well, perfect example there. I hit the stake that was on my target line, so I know the ball started perfectly on line. If that happens, great. I'll go get the stake here. So we know that that last one started perfectly on line. I would have liked to have seen the ball flight, but I think it would have been pretty good, considering it started on a 0 path. So we're going to go ahead with that same high cut feel. All right. I was mimicking that no left Scotty swing. If you'd like to copy a swing that doesn't miss it left, that's the one to do it. So we'll go here. All right. I like to keep things pretty natural, pretty fundamental and athletic. Same thing here. Really good. That ball carried very far. So that ball started a little right, stayed right. And when I mean right, let's say that was a 245 carry, which it was within a couple of yards of that. Would have probably hit the right side of the green. If not, it would have been just off. And another thing to point out is we would like to get our game to a point where we're comfortable enough to where we're okay with that, knowing that we're not going to hit the green every single time from 245 yards, and that the rest of our game can take care of it. I can still get up and down. So keep it simple, keep it positive, remind ourselves that it's a game. Just focus on what matters. All right, so that last one was good. I'm gonna kind of hit what would be coined the stinger here. Really simple. We want to naturally de-loft the club. We want to have our dynamic loft, which is the loft at impact, as low as possible. Make sure we hit ball first, and then keep the speed up. Weight's gonna finish forward and mostly stay forward. Ball position's gonna be back. Little pressure forward. And I'm just gonna feel like I'm gonna rip that stake right out of the ground. And hit one here. Very good. So that landed about 30, 40 yards shorter of the stock shot, but it rolled out to the same distance. So the reason that is important is because I've watched Scotty quite a bit over the past few months, and I'm sure everyone else has too. And one thing to notice is how he is able to keep up with some of the longest hitters in the world, because he's able to shape the shots and use the course to advantage. He reminds himself continuously that it's a game. Play it as it's intended. Play it as the course architect intended. So that shot would have been great. Maybe you don't have the speed or ability to hit it 245 carry, but if we can adjust our body and hit it in a way where we can repeatedly hit it 200, 210, 220, and then get a little bit of rollout, and you can depend on that, then that's the adjustments we want to make. So we'll hit one more, and I'll leave the stake out since I've hit it 2 times now. I know that I'm pretty square lined up. I want to see the ball flight. Make my rehearsals. So this was a very productive range session. Didn't spend a lot of time, didn't hit a lot of balls, as you see. Just want to address the fact that there's a lot of common issues that are linked together, they're webbed together, that I hear a lot, and it's usually what I would like to call the more or less a domino effect, where we need to identify what the one positive domino is, where we can knock that over and let it compound in your game instead of focusing on 15 different fills, 15 different videos. Just give yourself a clear plan and some actual clarity to your game, so when you go back out, you know what you're wanting to work on. So hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like so more people like you can benefit from it, and subscribe so you can see future content. If you'd like to know how you can work with me, click the link in bio. I have a Calendly link to a roadmap call. We can discuss what will work best for you to get you to your goals, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Have a good one.